Hello, I am Saju Vaswani. Please help me welcome Mitali Bertolassini. She's the Vice President of the EE System, which is a cutting edge technology for health and wellness. She's an international speaker, published author, and wellness expert. Mitali has helped grow EE System into a global network of over 700 centers across 60 countries, pioneering holistic health through advanced scalar energy. So let's talk about the E system. What exactly is it doing?
Essentially, it's just giving your body more energy to do what it wants to do. So from that level, I'll take it back to someone maybe that has diabetes. Their body starts to shut down, right? The body then concentrates all that energy back to the major organs. That's why you get neuropathy or eyesight issues. The reverse is also true. Once the body has more energy, it's like, oh, okay, I can start expanding. I don't have to constrict so much and just focus here. I can kind of go up here. And I think it's human nature too to make sure that your basic needs are covered before you can then start expanding in other ways. So again, talking about the emotions, this is also helping to sync the left right hemispheres of the brain and giving you more energy to make healthier, more conscious choices. It's taking you out of that fright, flight, or fight back into homeostasis. I mean, it's simple, but then you have all these ripple effects of positivity. Scalar is by definition any fifth dimensional and nonlinear or non-Hertzian frequency. So that's just kind of means anything you can't explain in the third dimension, which is where we kind of are.
Right.
So with that being said, you do have to look at the effect. That's how you can really show what's happening is, okay, I'm not seeing just sound or light waves or whatever, third dimensional stuff. I'm seeing that plus other things, and I can prove that because of XYZ reaction. And so that's where some of the magic really happens is when you have not just the one unit. This is why they're always sold in multiples of 4, and they're very precisely aligned to create that scalar vortex. So one unit doesn't really create the scalar by itself at all. It is that intersection of fields where that magic happens, and then that kind of comes out. I wish I had some visuals for you because I feel like it's hard to comprehend fifth dimensional concepts just through words, even with pictures. It's still limiting but helpful. But again, scalar can be limiting because it doesn't necessarily denote health and wellness by itself. Mentally, as a human being, don't cognate everything that's going on in your body. If you did, if you could feel your liver cringing every time you did something naughty, you might actually do those things. It's funny how the healthier choice is actually less expensive over time, not just in your pocketbook, but like with the energy you have and what you can accomplish in your day to day. Sometimes it's just making those little small habits into reflex. It makes a big difference over time. I think I've met some amazing people that are in their 90s and they're still walking about and healthy and, mentally astute. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think that actually should be normalized.
So the EE system, from what I'm understanding, isn't it creating the space that it's in? It's creating a 0 point, which means that there's no stressors in that room, basically no EMFs or radiation.
Yeah, it would be like akin to being in a rainforest at a certain point. You're not having all that background noise, is what I call it. The Wi-Fi and 5G and this and that, the other. Our body gets incredibly stressed out on a cellular level being around all of that constantly. I mean, obviously, we still want to be able to use technology. There's a lot of benefits, clearly.
Yes.
But how this has been affecting our body, I think, a lot of people have done research even on major viruses and changes in frequency around us. And, it does affect our immune system in a significant way, and it makes us more susceptible potentially. So even that, some people get the system just for that sort of nullification effect, we'll call it. And that goes outside of the room. That's part of the effect of scalar in that way, that nullification, that quietude. But the main benefit will always be in the room with the system in that interaction with the light, so that we're having more of that DNA cell rejuvenation.
What does the code do?
It's been compared to like an automated prayer wheel. So that's the way I like to think about it, is it's sort of like a guided meditation being done for you, focusing on the positive in your space. And I think that is part of what brings you out of that fright, flight, or fight, is that aspect. And again, there's so many different components that get added together. So that does scalar also by definition it doesn't have intention, right? So think of it as a raw energy source, and that's helping to also direct that to that healing space versus just being energy and potential. I think of it kind of also as like a magnifying glass. You have light being emitted, like from
Okay.
the sun, we'll say. But if you have that magnifying glass, it's really concentrating it and condensing that. It's like light, ether, but then you're concentrating it for a specific purpose.
Awesome. I was told that the scalar system, it reaches 2 miles.
We have been able to measure its effects about 2.2 miles away, and that was with a smaller system. We haven't repeated that with like a 24 unit, so there's a good chance it could go further. But I call those the cheap seats. You're doing your neighbors a favor. And again, back to the automated prayer wheel, I know that they've done studies before too, where you have, say, 100 people praying in a city at the same time. And they've shown that that actually like affects like that lowered the crime rate because people were feeling that intention, I think, close by. So one of the things we like to joke is this is like earth acupuncture. Every system that goes in is you're holding space even more for the whole plant. I always like to say the magic is in the box behind the screen. The screen is important. It's like the tire on the vehicle. The vehicle is where all the special engineering and fun stuff is, but you can't drive it anywhere without wheels, right?
Right.
So we're beings of light. The primary function of our DNA is the storage of photons. And I think people are really kind of understanding that more these days with red and blue light therapy things being much bigger. And it is one component. You do want your color therapy and all of that. But primarily, the light is a carrier wave for the scalar being generated in the base unit. The scalar doesn't have a way to interact with us very much naturally. It can do things in our environment, but for our purposes, the function of the day is storage of photons. So I think it is like a really positive Trojan horse. And that's why the benefits are always going to be the best in the room with the system. Oftentimes, I like to go straight into the middle of the room where that vortex is occurring. And I like to tell people it's not like it's stronger there. I think there's just more of a sensation in that point. So anywhere in the room is going to be good. Although, of course, a lot of people probably feel it even in the parking lot sometimes. They can sense that there's something different going on.
Wow, that's beautiful. But like you said, you have to be in the room to receive the maximum. Yeah,
The primary
yeah, the
benefit.
primary.
Mhm.
Outside, it's just that it's making it. It's just a scalar, and inside you have the light and the code and
The
everything else.
biophotonics and the color therapy and all those good things.
Right.
Exactly.
Do you have to have your eyes open in the room for the biophotonics or the color therapy to work,
I'd
or?
say ideally no. If your eyes are open, you're externalizing at least 70% of your energy. So the best thing is to go in and sleep and relax. You don't have to meditate. Like I said, take a nap and just let yourself kind of let go. It's sometimes it can be tricky the first one or two times in. It's a new space. Normal, you're like, where am I? Am I comfortable here? Am I safe here? And I think after that, then it becomes very, very easy to just kind of go deep. That being said, some people enjoy that kind of distraction for the monkey mind of the guided meditation. I think that can be really useful for some to have words and something to focus on. So everybody's a little bit different. And I know some people really love to do like sound healings or yoga or movement. Anything where you're focusing on your breath and being present with yourself and kind of, sending yourself some love is still a good thing. But as far as best use of time, especially if you're only coming in for 2 hours a week here and there, would be just letting yourself relax.
I've had so many questions, and people want to know how soon will I feel the difference once I'm in the system. Is there a particular amount of time that you say, well, after so many hours, you should see a difference, or is there anything like that?
I always say manage expectations because you'll see a lot of testimonials out there where people are like, I went in for 2 hours and I had this amazing thing happen. And certainly that is 100% possible. I mean, the managing expectation part is you mentally, as a human being, don't cognate everything that's going on in your body. If you did, if you could feel your liver cringing every time you did something naughty, you
Hmm.
might not actually do those things. But on the other hand, if when it's doing better, when certain major organs are maybe kind of happier or getting improved, it's really hard to notice that change very easily unless you're doing some sort of diagnostic before and after so you can see your heart ejection fraction or kidney levels. Typically the body is going to use those for the things that are more necessary for the day to day, and the inflammation and things of that nature can come certainly, but be patient with yourself. And if you have the possibility of doing any kinds of self diagnosis, I think sometimes there's also the human psychological aspect of even if I hold two apples, one apple has to be at least 10% bigger or heavier, whatever, for me to see that they're different at all. Right. Otherwise, I'm
Right.
like, I think it's the same. unless you have a way to measure that with equipment. So I think humans are the same. Unless you're seeing a 10% or greater improvement, increase, whatever, in a short period of time, like, within a day or two, you might not think about that yourself. So if you say first time in, even do a self-diagnosis, so like, where's my stress levels at on a scale of 1 to 10? Here, pain levels, etc., sleep, whatever it might be. And then after your 10th time in, you do a self-diagnosis without looking at the first one and say, okay, where are my pain levels now? Where this, where that? Because that's the thing. People tend to forget. I've seen this a lot where people forget that they had a problem.
Hmm.
I've seen this with other things. And then they're like, oh, and then it comes back sometimes because they're doing the same stressful activities and they don't remember, oh, if I go back and do that, maybe I can feel better again.
That's true. I also remember listening to one of the podcasts with your mom, Dr. Sandra Rose Michael, and she was talking about how somebody felt better and then it was bad again. And then she said, good, that means that it is being healed. The body has to go back
Mhm.
to that place. And can you explain that phenomenon?
I feel like there's a couple different ways. We have our physical body, we also have an emotional one. I believe
Yeah.
very strongly in that. So for some people, especially who've gone through like a loss recently, this can create an emotional detox response. I've seen some people just break down sobbing. It's something that they've been repressing and suddenly like the dam breaks. They get a little embarrassed, but it's like, no, it's okay. It's a good thing. You've been holding that in and that's not good for you. And then for other people, especially if they've maybe had a lot of chemical exposures or things of that nature, they sometimes get like instantly nauseous in the system. And that's okay too. There's nothing outside your body that's being introduced in a way. It's just your body having more energy. And when your body has more energy to function well, it starts to want to reorganize, and clean house. So it might start pushing things from your cells into the bloodstream in an attempt to maybe eliminate it. And if your body starts to reabsorb those toxins, that's what creates like that nausea, that fatigue, maybe like flu-like symptoms. And this is why those detox baths are so important after the system, is because your skin is your largest organ of elimination. So that's the easiest way for these toxins to be pulled out is through your skin. It's the heat plus the salt. And you can obviously add other things in there. We'd like to do baking soda with the salts because that helps pull heavy metals better than just toxins, if that makes sense. It pulls things slightly differently, and your body sometimes has that remembrance too on a different level. Like I think when you're talking about with your friend, where it's remembering maybe a past trauma and releasing that, and you have that sensation. It's not pain usually, but it's like a slight discomfort, pinpricky sensation of an area of an old energy. I usually say I think it's because the microcirculation is coming back. So suddenly you're having more feeling and sensation or part that maybe was damaged. I think of it more as if you are trying to clean your house and you have one person that comes in for 2 hours, it might actually look worse almost before it starts to get better because they started
Mm,
a project and weren't able to complete it, right? Especially if the house is very dirty.
got it.
We're kind of like that. So I think having more time and sometimes more units, more help actually gets people to feel better more quickly because you're not stopping and starting the process as much. If you come in once a
Mm,
month, it's like going to the gym. You're not going to get, amazing results if you go to the gym once a month. After a while, if you're just kind of more maintaining benefits, then maybe that is enough for you. That's perfectly fine. Come as often as you like. You can't overdo it. It is safe for everyone, even if you're perfectly healthy. Like I said, I mean, who doesn't want to just feel better, maybe have peak performance if you're an athlete? We've had a lot of athletes that have used it for that reason, just for that
mm.
recovery period and things. And it's not going to interfere with anything you might be doing with your current medical practitioner. As far as that goes, it's not going to negate anything. No contraindications. If you have implants, transplants, whatever, it's perfectly fine. If you're pregnant, we have a lot of people that traditionally speaking, it was in people's homes around their bed. So this is meaning that they're maybe young families that haven't even started having a family yet. And this is something that they used during that process where they, had it around their small children and animals. Exactly that.
So it's very safe. It's no, even a pacemaker, it won't make a difference.
Only time we tell people to be a little bit mindful, which is something they should be doing anyway,
Hmm.
is if they're, say, diabetic and taking insulin, maybe make sure they're double checking their blood sugar levels more consistently if they don't have an automatic pump, because oftentimes they need less insulin than they might normally. We're not a
Yeah.
medical device, and we don't really desire to be one. I think in Canada, we're actually considered an environmental enhancement. So
Is
I will
that
take that.
right? Wow.
Mhm.
Okay. Great. And if you are seeing doctors and all, this is not instead of, it's along with. This just enhances it. So I just wanted to make that clear with everyone that we're not trying you to replace anything. This is just do everything that you're doing and just come in here to enhance all the work that you do outside.
Exactly.
Right?
Perfect.
Awesome. Awesome. Everything is sounds great, and maybe one day I'd love to have your mom here explaining deeper, into the technical part of all of this. Also, I'm very excited to see what comes in the future for Infinite Love and with the EE system.